Wilderness and 40s, isang mapagpalang umaga sa ating lahat. Ngayong umaga, pag-usapan natin ang wilderness at ang number 40. Sa patuloy nating pagbabasa ng Gospel of Mark, ikinuwento dito si John the Baptist bilang the man crying in the wilderness. Ang pagbaptismo kay Jesus at ang temptation of Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days ay inilahad din. Tara! Kape at pandesal muna tayo habang pinag-uusapan natin ito. We cannot deny that the Old Testament was a foreshadowing of what is to come. The wilderness and the number 40 were mentioned even in the Old Testament. These were significant in the lives of God's people, for it had proved that wilderness and time were God's ways of purification, test, and manifest of His power. It is also a revelation of His faithfulness and love. The book of Joshua described the journey of Moses out of Egypt to a promised land. Mababasa natin ito sa Joshua chapter 5 verse 6, and it says, "The Israelites traveled in the wilderness for 40 years, until all men who were old enough to fight in the battle when they left Egypt had died. For they had disobeyed the Lord, and the Lord vowed that He would not let them enter the land He had sworn to give them, a land of flowing with milk and honey." Isang mahaba-habang paglalakbay ang inabot ni Moses at ang mga Israelita. Magmula sa libro ng Exodus, umabot tayo hanggang sa libro ni Joshua para ilarawan kung gaano kahaba ang kanilang naging biyahe. Pero saan nga ba ang promised land na binabanggit dito? Batay sa mga dalubhasa, ang promised land or the ancient land of Canaan ay may layong approximately 8,482 kilometers from Egypt. Ngayon, let us do the math. Kung lalakarin mo with an average speed of 8 kilometers per hour, ang magiging normal walking time natin ay 8,482 divided by 8. So, it will give us 1,060.25 hours. So, i-divide natin ito by 24 hours para makuha natin kung ilang araw ang kinakailangan para lakbayin ang ganitong kalayo. So, 1,060.25 divided by 24 hours will give us approximately 44 days. Let's say they walk 12 hours per day, hindi naman 24 hours. So, 44 times 2 will give us 88 days. So, 88 days, normal walking time, nakarelax na sila. So, 88 days divided by 30 para makita natin kung ilang buwan. So, it will give us 2.9 months or approximately 3 months. 3 months of journey was made 40 years wandering in the wilderness. See, the wilderness isn't a friendly and a comfortable place to be in. In the wilderness, walang mga tao. Namamahay dito ang mga mababangis na hayop. It is a desolate place. Pero isang kwento sa Book of Mark speaks of the same wilderness and the number 40. It is Jesus' temptation. At sabi dito sa Mark chapter 1 verses 12 to 13, sabi dito, "At once, the Spirit sent him out into the wilderness, and he was in the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by Satan. He was with the wild animals, and angels attended him." In the New Testament, even Jesus had his wilderness moments. It was the Spirit that sent him in the wilderness. Karamihan siguro sa atin fail to recognize that we also have our own wilderness, that we also are in a test or trial, that we are also sent in a wilderness para pagtagumpayan ang darating na hamon sa buhay natin. You might be nursing a broken heart, a financial problem, an illness maybe, and so on. Pero ang tanong ko, how is your faith? Jesus fought the temptations with the Word. Paano natin malalabanan ang mga ito if we do not know the Word? Ano ang pinanghawakan mo? What are you holding to right now? In the wilderness that Jesus went into were the presence of wild animals that could hurt you. But always remember, in the wilderness, God will never leave you alone. At ang sabi nga dito, the angels attended to Jesus. Kaya don't think na iniwan ka ni Lord in any situation na meron ka ngayon. May kasama ka, may kasangga ka. And here are my takeaways dito sa story na to. Sa comparison sa Old Testament and the New Testament, yung nangyari sa mga Israelites with Moses and even Jesus. Before a promise is fulfilled, nagkakaroon tayo ng wilderness experience. Sa Old Testament, it was a promise na mararating nila the land of milk and honey. In the New Testament, it was a promise of an everlasting life. Pero ito, both were promises of redemption. In the wilderness was temptation, a test of faith, a purification process. In the story of Moses, when they were in the wilderness, they became weary and became unfaithful. Pero, ang nangyari, God disallowed them to enter the promised land until they abide in Him. In Jesus' time, He was also tempted. Fast forward tayo sa New Testament. He was tempted by flesh, by the world, by dominance na present ng devil sa Kanya. Jesus succeeded all sorts of temptations and used the Word to fight every dissolution from the devil. For the Israelites spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness, but Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness. The number 40 is a significant figure in the Bible that even Elijah also had a wilderness experience, and Moses too for 40 days. It is a test, revelation, and realization of a promise. It marks as a start of a life with God. The wilderness is a place where God's power is revealed. It is a desolate place, but all they needed were supplied by the Lord Almighty. Desolate place, walang makain, walang mainom na tubig, but during Moses' time, lahat ng kinailangan ng mga Israelites were provided. When the Israelites were in the wilderness, they received manna from heaven and quails. Everything they needed was provided by God. Truly, in our weakness, God's power is made perfect. If you think you are in your wilderness moments, learn from the Bible, pray, and seek God. Everything you need will be provided in His name. Take time to read the Bible and discover the promises of God too. Do not turn your back on God. Instead, endure with God. Muli, isang mapagpalang umaga sa ating lahat, and to God be all the glory.